Good afternoon. I'm Bradley McCalister, founder of Spiracraft, and this is Spiracraft Live on a nice Thursday afternoon. And I can turn this thing off, I do believe. Michael McEwen, good afternoon. Brian Short, good afternoon, guys. I am ready to make a mess and have some fun and all the good stuff on a Thursday afternoon. Happy to be out here. It's a wonderful day. It's kind of cool out again. It's been back and forth, been raining and all that, but today it's sunny but cool in South Georgia. Looking forward to my project that came to me in the middle of the night last night. If you read the description, you know, it just popped into me out of nowhere. And then I looked it up, started looking up some things about Jules Verne, the spaceship, and I just remember from different things, and I thought, that'd be kind of cool. And then it got complicated. The more I thought about it, instead of going back to sleep, the more complicated it got for the project. But I thought that was good, and so I'm looking forward to it. I've still got here on the lathe right now the piece from last week, and I'm going to wait a few minutes and spray one more coat of lacquer on it. You can see it here in the end camera sitting here. I've had it spinning. I sprayed another coat on it. It's got 1, 2, maybe 3 coats of lacquer on it. And what I'll do is I'll lay it flat, take it out of the chuck and lay it flat, and we'll spray another coat on it so that I can carry it off. I mean, this is not the best place in the world to be spraying lacquer because it's full of dust and all kinds of stuff when I walk around. But I still want you to see the piece, and it'll be in the overhead camera when I spray it. And I mean, it's come out really well. People like it. I'm pretty pleased with it. Actually, I mean, I learned a lot, and that's always key. I learned a lot about the mix, and when I do it again with the gold leaf flakes and the spin gems, the one mistake I made, and it's just the way it is. The one mistake I made because I was busy, you know, talking and having fun, is I didn't keep the flakes and the spin gems mixed or agitated and stirred well in the cup at all times, you know, or whenever I put it out. So they got separated, and that made it look a little bit different than I was looking for. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. And we'll get this guy all shiny and everything, and it's going to be pretty cool. So let's see. Sue's in here. Hey, Sue. Art Miller. All right. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, Art. Mike Doyle. Good afternoon. Everybody's joining in, and we're going to have a good fun day today. The piece of wood for today's project, I'm trying to get rid of this stuff, this poplar I've had out here under wraps. So it may not be my best choice of wood ever, but I'm going to work with it anyhow. This piece is going to end up being a fairly unique shape. Going to end up being a 2-piece holoform with recurve before it gets carved flames and things like that. So it's going to be pretty unique. A lot of it's going to get turned away. I didn't get it turned around because I just got it running through the bandsaw, and I didn't want to come in here and start making a mess and then deal with this guy. So I decided I'd wait on that, and you'll just have to bear with me as I knock the edges off, but no big thing. We'll deal with that. And you guys are chatting away. Okay, so let's do this real quick. And anybody that misses it, of course, it's on the replay. So I'm going to bring up a little box. That's my little lathe cover to set here. It's starting to look rough on both sides. That drops right in there. And I'm going to pop this piece out of the chuck and just drop it straight down. And for the most part, because I knew I couldn't win, I zoomed in the overhead for what's coming up. So it's, you know, it doesn't quite encompass all of it, but you can see it for the most part. Let me get my other special holder here too. One thing that I want you to notice, and it's very evident, so the piece was sanded to 220, and it's got 3 coats of lacquer on it, and it's gloss lacquer, and you can see the texture that it has. okay? Some of that's dust in the room. Some of that's the wood standing up just a little teeny bit because the resin is actually quite smooth. And it's not unusual at all. And the methodology that I've used for years is I will spray, say, 6 coats of lacquer on a piece like this, and then I will come in after 6 coats. I'll let that dry, overnight. I coat a day, and then I'll take a piece of, say, 220 paper, and that's all I sanded it to, 220, and I will lightly sand it by hand all around, and just knock that finish back down to flat, and then I'll keep spraying. And typically, I would spray 6 coats a day for a week on a piece like this. All right? And then it will be completely smooth. Because once I sand this, and especially after 6 coats when I sand it, it should be uniformly dull. If there are any shiny spots, that's a telltale sign that I haven't cut the finish back far enough. But you want to be careful, especially a piece that has these contours, because lacquer is actually quite thin. Even though you put it on thick, it's mostly solvent. And so you want to be really careful as you sand. And it's better to go ahead and add a few more coats and then come back. It doesn't take but a few minutes to sand it by hand with 220 and get it down flat. And once you have the finish flat, to where when you sand it, it's uniformly dull, then you can keep putting lacquer on, and you know the finish itself is flat. Now, was a question came up about using lacquer as opposed to, like, say, wipe-on poly and things like that. I've used them all. I've used the wipe-on poly in the past, and it's a great protective finish, but it's hard to repair. So if this is a decorative piece, and let's say the cat jumped up on the shelf and knocked it off, and you wanted to come back and clean up the scratch and whatnot. Lacquer is the easiest thing in the world to repair. The poly, not so much. You would have to sand the entire piece physically and then recoat it with poly. With the lacquer, if it's a little scratch, you could probably actually just skip that altogether. Now, here's the other thing. This is lacquer, gloss lacquer. And you can experiment. If you wanted satin, you can spray satin, but if you spray a satin finish, you'll never be able to get gloss out of it. If you take a gloss lacquer and you decide it's too shiny, you can steel wool it down with 4/0 steel wool to a satin. If you decide, well, gosh, I don't like that after all, because it's a truly gloss lacquer, you can then polish that steel wooled satin finish back up to the gloss it was before you steel wooled it. Plus, it'll be even a little bit smoother. So by using gloss lacquer, I have the option for both gloss and satin on the same piece. Deft is probably not to be found anymore, and realistically, I wouldn't use Deft. I used to use Deft when I first started, Brian, and it doesn't really ever cure hard or hard enough. Lacquers are a little soft to a degree for wood anyway, and the Deft was one that just out of the rattle can at $4, you can only expect so much out of it. The Spiracraft lacquer that I'm using here, it finishes up nice and gets harder. So be careful, if you can't, and the Spiracraft is only, I forget off the top of my head, $6, $7, $8, $9 a can, somewhere in there. If you'll get an instrument grade lacquer, you'll have a really good lacquer as well. So stay away from the lesser expensive ones. $11 here when available. Gotcha. So it's gone up. Everything's gone up. Craziness. So anyway, if I sprayed it with satin, I would be stuck with satin. I spray it with gloss, I can always make it satin. And I had a thought that what I might experiment with is, after it's all sprayed, I might steel wool down the black and leave the resin inlays gloss. Be kind of curious to see how that looks. All right? So I'm just going to give this one quick shot of lacquer, which will then fumigate me, and then I'm going to carry it away, out of the way. And again, this is just, when I used to do a lot of lacquer spraying, I would buy 5-gallon cans of Sherwin-Williams C75 acrylic cab lacquer. in gloss. It's a great way. You buy it in 5 gallons at a time. It's a whole lot cheaper. But using the for small projects, this Spiracraft clear lacquer in gloss, if you want the gloss finish like I do, is a great alternative, okay? So I'm just going to give the old rattle can a shake. And I'm going to turn off my fan for a second so it doesn't blow the lacquer around any more than necessary. And I'll spray a pretty wet coat on this. Just so you can see. So before the solvents evaporate out, you can see how smooth and shiny it's going to end up being. Now you're seeing all kinds of lights, and there is some dust nibs in this and whatnot now. And that's why we're going to cut this back with our 220 and make that flat. And I had a dedicated spray room in the past, so I would do this in a room that doesn't have any wood dust in it to speak of, and whatnot. So that is a beautiful piece, you know, when it's all nice and shiny and smooth. And the focus is a little off because the focus is up higher. So I'm going to lift this up just a fuzz maybe. And that should be a little bit better in focus for you, because that's closer to where it is. So all those little, that's all dust nibs you see in there. Okay, and you won't see those dust nibs against the black, but we need to cut it down. We'll just cut that finish back with 220 paper. Okay? So that's our beautiful sycamore platter from last week. Really pleased with the way this guy's coming out. And like I said, I'll cut it back and we'll call it good. So I'm going to move this as far away from all this mess that I'm about to make as I can. I'm actually going to carry it over here into the control room and put it on a piece of equipment there. Now, I didn't spray too much lacquer, so hopefully I won't get asphyxiated. I may turn on the air conditioner to get a little air change in here for myself. That'll help me. All right, let's pop back up to 3. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. That's the wrong one, Brad. Let's go to 3 here. There we go. Good deal. Put our lacquer away. Put my little box off here. What else? Woodworking Expo. So obviously, today's Thursday. The first expo that I will be at will not be this weekend, which is in Richmond, Virginia. I will be starting next weekend in Springfield, Massachusetts, and then going on to Syracuse, New York, Baltimore, Indy, so on and so forth. So I hit the road next week, so I know that there will not be a Spiracraft Live next Thursday, because I'll be doing windshield time on my way to Springfield, Massachusetts with the stage. But I'm here today having a great time, and it's all good. I'm going to turn my other fan back on, get some breeze going. Let's get a step drive into the chuck. I've got my easy chuck here, and this piece is going to end up, it's going to be a wild piece. And it's going to be a project that takes a little bit of time. So I'm just double checking my calipers now. I'm going to give myself a little extra crush because this wood is soft. So I'm going to open that up. This is going to end up having tenons on both ends because we're going to shape the general overall shape, and then I'm going to part it off behind where the flames are, and I'll explain that as I go. And then we'll be able to hollow out the inside and inside of the top and the inside of the bottom, which will then eventually go back together. And again, this is a Jules Vern-inspired shape with the addition of my concept of having flames coming off from the top of the capsule, from the front of the capsule. And I want to show you, I came up with this crazy color scheme that I saw. I was looking for an idea for a color scheme, and so I just stole this image from a website design company, and here's the colors that I want to use. So the base of this thing will be that flat white. The Spaceship is going to be flat white. And then I just love these colors. The only one I'm not a huge fan of is kind of the forest green at the moment around the eyes, but the yellows, the reds, the blue on the shoulder, the black lines, and the contrast that it provides, that's kind of the idea of what this is what I foresee it being. The body is going to be like this, and think of hot rod flames on what I'm going to show you as I make it, the flames. But so this is the color palette that I've kind of chosen. And like I say, this is a website design company, Sacco Design, and I just grabbed the image because I just thought the colors and the contrast was really cool. So, all right, let's get this guy up in here and make it round and start making a mess. And the flame section is going to get carved after it's going to get turned, today, and then it'll get carved, and there's going to be portholes in the top as this dries. And I may take this piece out on the road with me because I'm going to be carving out on the road with these shows, the expos. So I may take it with me and kind of putter with it out there on the road as I go. So I have a step drive here on this end. I've got my rotor 60-degree point here. Now the ends of this are a little soft, so we'll see what happens. I kind of discovered that after I cut it to square and brought it in here. Again, it is a piece of poplar. Hopefully it doesn't spin too much as I work on this. There's my theoretical center. This probably is going to dive in there pretty far. We'll see. Make sure that everything's locked down. Oh, that's not too bad. We'll turn away the bad stuff. So I guess things are sounding and looking good because nobody's telling me anything's wrong. Finally, I hope I don't curse myself by saying this. Finally, maybe I'm starting to get. I'll hit one of the emergency stops here. There we go. The electronics set up and working properly. It'd be about time, wouldn't it? All right, let's see. We've got this at 90. Let's go to 250 and give her a spin, see how she spins. Everything's good there. We're going to turn it faster than that, but we're going to start at 250. And then we'll jump to 500. Things aren't shaking too bad. Let's see what happens when we jump to 750. Okay, so that should work. That's not too violent for our roughing purposes. Okay, good deal. So I'll use the Carter & Son roughing gouge to get the corners off of this and make it round. And then, of course, as I usually do, I'll use a variety of conventional tools, carbide tools, hollowing tools, curve tools, whatever it takes to make the shapes and all that I want to make. So let me do this because I want to get the camera set for you to see. Again, you don't need to see me, so I'm going to set the overhead and the overlay. And so let's make the program be the overhead. And I will go adjust that. And the overlay is going to be the end. There we go. So let me go into the control room and adjust that a little bit so that you have a better view. I did zoom it in, and obviously I hadn't put the piece of wood on. So let me make an adjustment here and pull this out a little bit. There we go. And I probably can't go left or right, but I can move the headstock because of the way the camera is set. So let's do that, and then I'll adjust the end camera. So we're going to slide everything down a little bit. I want it to be the best it can be for you guys. There we go. Got you in the middle there now. Make sure that's tight. All right, and that end camera looks pretty good. I might bump it down just a fuzz. Do. We may just point that downhill a little bit, like so. And to keep you in place. So you can see both, and that's not too much in the way. The overlay shows cuts off a little bit of the corner, but this is we'll deal with that. We'll check it when it gets round, and maybe we'll zoom out on it. So let's make sure again everything's nice and tight. As I said, this wood is soft, and I'm hoping that it gets a good bite. Doesn't spin when I start to rough it out. Did Rich show up? Rich is here. I see Michael saying, hey, Rich. So Rich must be in here somewhere. Yep. Hey, Rich. I didn't see you come in. I was doing something else. I see it. There you are up there. Good afternoon, Rich. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving the Nova Nebula. This thing is awesome. I love the brake. I've been super happy with this guy. Super, super happy. Oh, I forgot to show you. I'll just stick it right here. There's the egg, the leftover egg. That Rich said I should make an egg instead of a bottle stopper out of it with the turquoise and the gold flake. That looks pretty cool. Okay, masks down. Now I don't go super fast because I try not to throw the chips around on all the monitors and the electronics. Don't tell anybody I moved that without turning off the lathe, okay? I went and looked, I was looking through my Sycamore and I didn't see anything that didn't have checks that would have been the right size for this. So that's kind of why I chose to go with this poplar instead of the Sycamore that I still have some of. I didn't want to be dealing with checks and splits. And I don't think there's any splits in this. We'll find out shortly. Let's take a look at it, as a matter of fact. So it's kind of starting to turn into rainbow poplar, just a little bit. All right. I'm going to tighten everything up while we're not turning here. And I'll probably go ahead and take the speed up. We'll pump her up to 1,020. I like to try and throw all the chips the same direction. That's why I don't usually go back and forth. Okay, that's good enough. We can start switching over to something else. So you can see now, if you can, we're going to square the ends up before we bother to make our tenons and things like that. We're going to clean this up. And I'll switch over to a carbide tool. I like to mix it up. Pop this back on. Rich says, oh, Michael Richardson talking. Okay, you guys. Let me know if I needed to say anything. Otherwise, I'll just keep on working. I think I may pop this back down to 750. Lower this tool wrist down just a fuzz. Did my dad show up? Hey, Dad, just found comments. All right, Dad. Good deal. Hope you're doing well today. Let's take a look at this guy. So the end is soft down here. We still got plenty of wood. I'm going to take a little bit more of this away. See if we don't get something a little bit more. Yeah, now we're starting to get something looking solid. Still a little punkiness there, and that might stay, but all we need is our tenon for size. And then we can get it in the chuck. All right, so let's get that. Get my tenon tool, tenon carver. Raise my tool rest up. That's where we're going. So that most of that should bypass, if you see it here in the end camera, that's kind of the soft punky stuff. So we probably will be able to bypass most of that and still have a nice solid tenon. All right, let's come on in here. Take a half a cutter at a time. That's just, boy, that is right on the money. That is right where I want to be. I'm so lucky with that size. Like I said, it's because I've made it like 9 million times. Find myself a detail tool here. Stop for a second, come in and adjust this. Put a little dovetail on it. This stuff is soft. I'm going to flatten this out a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to stop and make sure I haven't made that too long. It might be a fuzz long, so I'm going to take a little bit off the length. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in right here with the detail tool, and I'm going to carve this down to a really small point. Just shy of breaking. Hopefully I get it before it breaks. I stop before it breaks. And I want to use a smaller one. Okay, that looks good. So I want to take this away. Now, when I take too much away, it'll break. And if I have to chisel just a tick, just because there's more there than one would want. Because I had to do that because of the punky wood that was on the end here. And as long as the tenon doesn't have a dome to it, we'll be okay. I may have to open the door. That lacquer's pretty strong in here still. So also, if I get this down to a small enough diameter that will fit between the center of the chuck jaws, then it's not an issue either. Okay, that's about the size of a pencil down in there right now. And I probably shouldn't push it anymore, but I will. Just there, and then I'm going to stop right there. And so all we have is just that little teeny go this way. You can see just a very small center left down in there. All right. We can just pop that guy off of there. Take a chisel, pardon my reach. Clean off whatever's left of that. Now we can pop this into the chuck, and we don't have to worry about things theoretically flying away so much, and we can make the tenon on the other end. And I haven't determined, the front from the back and all that, or the capsule from the tail end of the rocket. And I'm not really going to worry about it too much. So technically, that tenon is actually just a little bit too long. The shoulders of the chuck jaws are not sitting on the base, so we'll fix that when we turn it around. Okay. I left it, I knew it was a little long, so I shaved some off of it. Okay. So we'll come down here and clean up the end, and then we'll make our tenon down here. And as soon as I clean it up, as soon as I clean off this excess, I will go ahead and bring the tailstock back up. Let's use a bigger tool. I don't want to put a lot of force on it because, again, the tenon at the other end is not great. Okay. There we go. We don't want to go throwing this thing off the lathe. It's the last thing we want to do. Now I'll make the tent a little bit bigger this time. If you go quiet, I'll send EMS. That'd be a good idea. Yeah, if you don't hear from me for a little while, if you hear a thud and then I disappear, it might be a good idea. I'm going to have fun shaping this piece. Like I say, I made this up in my sleep. Put our dovetail on it. Take away the excess. This one we should be able to get right all the way into the point. Okay. Double check our diameter now. So this one I made just a fuzz bigger and it's a little bit shorter. So we'll whip this thing around again. Clean up that other tenon that's just a little bit long. Then we'll get to making fun shapes. There's one knot in it. Not the end of the world. I've never been scared of a knot. It'd be nice someday to turn always clean, nice clean wood and all that, but so now our tenon does not bottom out. We have proper contact there. A little large, but it's going to shrink. It's going to squeeze in because this stuff is so soft and green. Looks like she's a little crooked. Let's loosen her back up for a second. Give her another sit down in there. It's kind of fuzzy. Maybe that's just what it's going to be. A lot of crush in this. It's only been under saran wrap for a year, out in the weather, if you know what I mean. So again, this end is too long, just by a fuzz. So now that won't be a problem. All right, now the question is, to myself, do I have any kind of preference which end is which? There's the knot, which hopefully might get turned away. So if I make this the capsule end and this the rocket end of the spaceship, in theory, this is going to be it is going to be a much smaller end. So maybe that knot will get turned away. So we'll leave that there. I think we're in position to start to lay out our spaceship. Okay? This is where we get to start having fun. This is where my dream, as you say, the dream comes true. Okay. Do. Now I'm going to leave the tenon on this. I may end up making a smaller tenon for it. I don't know. Because we need to hollow it out. So we're going to rough shape this guy. And I'm just going to take a 1/2-inch bowl gouge, Carter & Son 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Even though I'm technically doing spindle work. And I'm pop speed up. See how she likes a little bit more. Seems to be okay with that. So I'm going to start thinking about where's my capsule going to be start, where my flame's going to be. I have the luxury of I have this in my head and you have no idea what's in my head, which is always pretty scary. Now I'm going to overshoot this because this is so big, and I'm going to come back a little further, and that profile will get changed later on. See what I mean? So this is just going to be extra material up here for right now. Okay? Let's just run down this guy. Because all this is going to come away. Anyhow, so I have this vision of where the flames coming off the front of the capsule are. And they're going to be a piece of an area right in here. Okay, right, roughly right in there. So I can start taking this material away where that knot is. And that knot's going to be difficult and bounce and make noise and all kinds of stuff. We're just getting some of the mass out of this guy. And then I have to try and decide just how far I can reach in here too. I'm going to cut back up underneath here. Okay, that's what's going to happen. So, how far can I reach? And then there's another section in my dream that will be turned and cut and carved that will come up that will be the rocket fins. All right. If that makes any sense to you, I know it should. See what that knot looks like. Well, it's not getting any better, that's for sure. It's not doing me any favors, without a doubt. I need to leave a shoulder down on this end for that tendon. I can always also, if these tendons prove to be too big, I may just take them down to the next size chuck jaw down, because they really are going to kind of interfere with what I'm trying to do. So that might be the best thing for me to do, because this is going to taper off to almost nothing down here. So maybe I should go ahead and make them, but let's leave them there because I want to get started on this section. I'm just thinking, I know that's scary. See, and the flames are doing their own thing. This is the capsule up to this line right here. And then the flames are doing their own thing. And again, this is green, and I actually, the other thing, the reason I chose this is because it is green, and this will get turned really thin, and hopefully it warps like crazy, and then when I carve the flames out of it, it will look really cool. Okay, so let's change cameras around now. Let's do a flip-flop here. And put the end view, the top view in the end. Because I'm going to start coming in here and hollowing out behind here. And I have to do this now before I ever turn it around. Okay, so I am going to see if I have, and I may need to change. I want to start with my EasyWood Tools #1 hollower as soon as I find it. It uses a CI5, and I don't know why I don't see it here. It should be right in the rack. There it is. And I got a feeling that that's got a negative rate cutter in it, and it does. So let's see if that is going to pop out for me easily today. Yep, okay. Cool beans. So, we're going to take a EasyWood Tools #1 hollower, and we're going to put a standard cutter on here real quick. I'll jump up here for a minute and say hello. I got some cutters hanging out over here. See if I have a standard #5, CI5. Be my luck that I don't when I think I do. If not, I'll steal it off of something else. That is, come here. Trying not to drop it in the sawdust. That is a negative rate. Okay. There's one. I'll steal it off of this guy. So it looks like I'm in the overview, huh? Let's just turn that off for a second and let's go there. There we go. We're going to steal this cutter off of the micro real quick and put it on the #1 hollower. Quick cutter change. Are you guys getting any idea of what I've got going on here? Are you starting, is it starting to make any sense? Or are you just thinking I'm crazy? Because the parting of the, making the two parts is going to happen under the flame area. Now, I'm going to put that in my pocket or I'll lose it. Okay, put that guy there. We're all good here. Get ourselves a little angle. Face mask back on. Change the cameras, and we'll go back to work. So I want to put the end camera as the main view. That's 6. We need 5. 4 in the overlay. Susan says, keeping an open mind. That's a good idea, especially if it's around me. All right, I'm right at the center there. So I want to start taking material out of here. So imagine that this is all, give me a minute, I'm thinking about the choices. Imagine that this section in here is all cut away in flames. So imagine a hot rod with red flames kind of thing. It's instead of being in re-entry mode and you have just the glow coming off, I'm going to put hot rod flames. This is the capsule, and then this is the flames coming off the capsule. So that's what this band of wood is about, and it's going to get carved away with the exception of the flames. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to see if I need to reach up in here with this curve tool at all so that I can get a little further. And I've got a flatter surface here, and this is going to let me reach a little further up in here. Now it's got a negative rake, and I'm not going to bother to change it. It's a little easier angle though. And I'll also be able to turn on this again once I part it off, because we'll have a tenon up on that end. So I can change that, and I can change this outer profile if I want to. That's why we're leaving the tenons on the whole thing. Okay? So that works pretty well. So I'm trying to keep the Jules Verne rocket in my picture, or somebody's interpretation of it. The actual Jules Verne moon trip rocket was a pretty basic shape. It wasn't quite as interesting as the one that I lifted off the internet. And I'm almost as far as I want to go. I want to go a little bit further up inside there. Again, I can do that once I change it around. But I think I want to go ahead and change these jaws, these tenons, and I'm going to do it now while I have the opportunity to change both of them down to smaller size. of 1 3/8 so that I can do more shaping. So we're going to put a small tenon on these guys. So I've got the jaws over here, you can't see, but I'm resetting my calipers to the 1 3/8 jaws, which will really help. Okay? And so let's go ahead and carve this guy down. And we'll carve them both down, and that will help me tremendously with the shaping. A little bit more. And then I want a little bit of room for crush. That looks good. Screw that up. See, it only takes a second or a minute to change your tenons. Pop our dovetail on here. So even though I didn't sketch this out, and I've got it sketched out in my head, which makes it pretty easy for me to go ahead and work my way through these changes as I go. Now, if you don't visualize well, then by all means, work it out on paper so that you have your reference. One thing about the Easy Chuck, it is fast for changing jaws like this. I like my Nova Chucks, I like my Easy Chuck, I like them all. I like my Vic Mark. I still like the Barracuda that my dad gave me, but I don't use it as a chuck. As you guys know, I use it as a weight in the casting chamber. And I got one of these that's got resin on it. I have to be careful and check these things these days. All right, we'll whip that guy around like that. Now we'll reduce this one. And we'll just take some more of this extra material off of here in the whole bit while we're at it. So up in here is where the portals are going to go. Okay. I know you think I'm crazy, and there is some truth to that. Little bit more. Flatten that up too while we're here. A little bit more. We'll make a sideways cut here. Okay, that should be right on the money. Oh, wrong tool, Red. Clean that up, put our dovetail on it. And we're right back in business with our new tenon sizes, okay? So, we've got that, we've got that. We've got where we can hollow this out through there. We've got our rocket body down here. We put you in overhead and do that. So here's our body, which is going to get tapered down. We can taper that down now just for fun, since we're between centers and all that. Take a little more material off of it. It's not as tapered as it will eventually get, or won't be, but it will eventually get tapered down quite far. We'll just go down right down to the chuck jaws for now. Good old knot in there. Keeps everything entertaining. Okay, so that's nice. Let's clean this up going the other way inside. Michael Lang, how are you doing, buddy? Long time. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to be up your way pretty soon. I don't know if you can make it to Springfield or not, but I'll be in Baltimore in about 3 weeks. Love to see you. Alright, so they're just kind of playing with that and that. And so where I've stopped here, probably you can just barely see it. I think that's where I'll part this. Cut in here. And I'll just cut in here with a parting tool. And then we can start to hollow out our stuff. I can also shape this a little bit more while I'm here because I have my tenon made. I don't want to take too much off of it, but since we're here, I need to leave enough for the shoulder. Eventually that'll get whatever its final profile is worked out. Alright, parting tool. Carter & Son 16th inch parting tool is my favorite parting tool. Good deal, Michael. Come to Baltimore. It's downtown, wherever that is. Now this is all going to get painted, so I'm not worried about grains lining up and that kind of thing like I was making a lidded box. I think that is snapped enough because it's so fibrous that it wants to come off anyway. Yep, there we go. All right, cool beans. So this is already here. I do need to shape that before I hollow it because I have to have the shape in mind. So it doesn't really matter if I go ahead and hollow out this piece or if I hollow out inside here. They both have to be done. It's 208. Let's shape this guy and hollow it real quick. I do have something I have to do this afternoon, so I don't want to run late. But I think we're still all good. So, let's work on this shape here a little bit. for our rocket body. Again, it's kind of fun keeping this thing in my head and seeing it in front of me. That's one of the things I like about turning, is if I get an idea, even if it's one of those kind of middle of the night things, and what I'm going to do is take my parting tool and cut myself a little relief here. So that I can go a little bit smaller. Coming up with an idea, you know, in your mind, and then going out and making it come into reality is really fun. There we go. We'll live with that for now. And rockets back then were very crude, you know? So we're going to leave that just like that. Now, I may just cheat a little bit here today and grab a Forstner bit, if I have the right one chucked up, and make my life easy. If it's not too big, oh, perfect, perfect. We have very little hollowing to do. We're going to Forstner bit this guy. So let me swap you out to 5 and 4. Missed me at the wood show. It was very slow. Was it? I've heard different stories, Michael. Some people maybe didn't want to say it was slow, but I'm just glad they're back out there. I really am happy that they are back out and doing the do, so to speak. Okay, so I'm going to slow this down. I don't want to drill at 1,000. I'll drill at 500. That'll save me a lot of turning there. And I won't do the whole thing. But it'll get us started. And then I'll put a smaller bit in and go further down, then we'll do it out with the tool. It's not exactly wood turning, but it does make it faster. Because I want to make sure that I don't end up, too thin down and go through the walls down below. Okay, so that's just past the largest diameter of the piece. So I can go a little further, but I don't want to push it too much. And then, like I say, if I have another bit handy, we'll drop down to a smaller bit, and then our hollowing tool will drop right in there. Yeah, that's probably far enough. I don't want to push it too much further. All right, let me see if I have another bit handy here in the drawer. I do. Different system, different bit, but do the trick, and that's all right. Quick change. You can tell that this bit is much sharper than the one that I just was using. Check our depth there. Okay, I can go another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. And my wall thickness is still okay. I can't go a lot further because of the wall thickness. At some point, we're going to still have to earn our keep with the turning tool. And I think I'll stop right there to be safe. All right. So that made quick work of that portion, for the most part. Sort of dropping in here with a hollowing tool. Blow that wet sawdust off of here. All right, I think we are done with the tailstock. Well, I can drill that when I go there, so I'll leave it up here if I can get it not to be in the way. Let's see if I can get in here without taking tailstock off. No, let's do the drilling. Let's do all the drilling first. I'm going to change my mind. That way I can take the tailstock off for good. So let's swap these around real quick. Put our capsule in here. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to leave enough material that I can make a lip where these can seal back together. So I'm going to use the smaller bit that I was using, not make the bigger hole. How's that look? It's moving around a little bit as it goes, but that's all right. It's going to do that. Because what's going to happen up here, sorry about the bouncing around there, is this is going to, when I hollow this out, this is going to get portholes drilled in it so that you can see inside, you know, and all the way through. That's why this needs to be hollowed out. because we're going to be able to see inside of it. All right. I'll pop you back to the end. There we go. I love that 20-second delay. I watched the screen over there change. And we can go, well, I think we'll stop right there at the joint. Right there, that's far enough. That leaves me a little room for margin in there. Fresh Cut, how you doing? Thanks for dropping in. We're cheating a little bit here at the moment and drilling some holes before we hollow. And I said I can go up to the joint right there. And that'll be far enough. When, what a day on this. Whoo, what a day on this. Joe, would you think that I'm making it up as I go? Or something like that? It's not cheating, it's working smarter and not harder. All right. That is out of the way. So we're going to work through this small hole, okay? Rich, you expect me to make things up as I go? You always do. Well, it's a good thing because you know that's how I roll. I have a hard time with structure, you know? A really hard time with it. All right, let's see if this guy is going to do good things for us today or not. This is not end grain, this is side grain. So I'm not sure how she's going to play. But we'll give it a try. I have a whole arsenal of tools here. So we can try them all. And this is the Woodcut Tools Flexi Hollower. And it moves a lot of material in a hurry. I mean, that's a lot of wood. Nice big curly shavings coming out of there. So I'm going to have to be careful and keep my air here that I don't. And I was going to get the scrapers out for it, and I forgot to. I had meant to grab the scraper kit for it, and I didn't. So I am going to adjust this. You probably only see me reaching over in the other end camera. I'm going to rotate this head just a fuzz. To reach around the corner. Uh-oh. Okay, don't need that. As long as it wasn't important to hit the floor, I'm okay. So I reached right around the corner there into my capsule, literally my space capsule. Right up to the top and clear the chips out of my cutter. If they get stuck in the cutter, then the gap is filled, so sometimes you have to clean them out of there. I wonder if it'll come out while it's spinning. Enough air pressure it will. Okay, I mean, it's made really quick work. Again, that's the woodcut tools flexi hollower, and it is making quick work of that. You do have to be careful, like I said, that you don't go too far too fast. Okay. I'm going to put a little more arc in it, a little more turn, and so you know what I'm doing is right here. This is the one where you can articulate it. So I've already articulated it there. Now I'll articulate it back here a little bit more. The more you articulate it, the more challenging the control is probably the best way that I can say that. This is off at an angle. And it's spinning in that handle. So I have too much grip. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to change horses, because I needed to get further around the corner. And instead of fussing with that handle right now, I'm going to switch over to an Easy Wood Tools number 3 hollower, which would be the same as putting a scraper on, because it is scraper style, if you will. And I can reach right around the same corner and all the way up to the top. Now I don't get the big shavings, but I have the control that I need as well. Now I'm not going to cut the portal windows today. I'm going to wait for this to dry. This is going to be an ongoing project. And I want to let it dry before I cut the portals and I cut the flames. How am I doing on time? 2:27, okay. So that is working nicely. I might go straight in with a different Proform hauler. I want to get a little further up to the top, and I'm not going to put in the iron gate, but I want to reach a little further straight ahead. I could do it with the Easy Wood number 1 hollower, but let me see if I can't get right up into the very tip top of this guy and get some curls out of there. It really wants a hole. And I don't want to go too far. It does give me the reach And because I needed to get a little further up into the top of that. All right, so that took out some more, and like I was talking about, the EasyWood Tools #1 hollower. Again, one of my favorite tools. Even though it's straight, I've got a lip up in here. If you happen to have one of these, do not hesitate. And I'm going to jump the speed up to 750. And reach right all the way up to the tip top there. Okay, let's check that, blow it out. That's pretty good. Okay, now the other thing I think I'm going to do while this is here, this is thicker still than I want it to be. And the question is, you can see how it's out around and the way it's sitting in the chuck right now. And I'm going to go ahead, I want that thing paper thin. I really do. So I'm going to bump it up to 1,000, 1,020. And I'll take this #1 hollower, since it's in my hand, and clean up the inside of all this. I want this to be uniform. Okay, now the question becomes, how much do we have left on the outside that we can take away? Michael says, Bradley, is this project where you try the carving tools you bought in Chattanooga? It is one of the projects for the carving tools that I bought in Chattanooga. You are 100% correct, Michael. And those carving tools are going on the road with me. And I'm going to have lots of extra time in the booth, especially on Fridays. Saturdays are pretty full. And I'm going to play with them quite a bit. All right, so we want this thing paper thin. So let's see if I can make it paper thin without making it go away. Because if I make it go away, I've just ruined all the work that I've just done. So this is a tool that's not available anymore. It's a Carter & Son low profile 1/2 inch spindle gouge. And let me put you in the overhead. Swap things here. So if I crash and burn this, you'll get to see it crash and burn by being too thin. Okay. Okay, so we're safe. This still has material here. You can hear it's quite thin, but it's thicker as I go up here. Okay. So I can't afford to do that. Like so. All right. And that's not, I don't know that I have enough, to be quite honest, to make that perfectly round.
Nice and thin, the flame area. And see, I've got this punky wood here, and that hole probably goes all the way through, which is, I've got flames already started and I don't even know it. I'll bet you if I take my ice pick, that's going all the way through. Let's see here. Yep, sure enough. So our flames have started. We have our first flame. Thank you to the worms. So we can clean this up a little bit more. Move that out of my way. Again, it's all going to move as it dries. You know, I'm not a big spindle turner by, admission, but I do, and I'm sorry they stopped making it. This little 1/2 inch low profile is pretty cool gouge. All right. So there's our flame part. We've got hollowed out in here. And the only thing we have left to do for today at the moment, I'm going to change things around. Pop back up here, turn that off for a second. Because I'm watching the time, 2:35. So we'll go in and clean up the bottom. And we have enough there that we can make a joint and put that back together again. Then it's just like the rocket fins back here are going to get blended in with filler and smooth, just like you were doing bodywork on a car, so you'll never see that they were added. So there's our top, there's our capsule. Let me pop you in the overhead real quick. You can see inside there, nicely hollowed out. Now, I might hollow it out some more once I cut the portholes in it, if I don't like the wall thickness, or I can just carve them either way. This will get completely rounded, smoothed over to be the tip of the capsule. All right, and again, this will be the flames coming out of here. All right. Here's our rocket body. We'll go ahead and take some more out of this real quick, which will pretty well wrap up our day for this project. Then I'm going to bag it and take it out on the road and play with. I got to figure out how to do the flames. I got a friend who's a car painter, and he does great flames. I'm going to ask him how to lay out flames. I could get some flame decals, stick on there, transfer them over. There's probably stencils for it. I haven't even looked into it. I mean, I honestly thought of this at like 3:30 this morning when I woke up and rolled over and like, what am I going to do for Spiracraft Live? And I said, hey, I don't know where the rocket idea came from. It just poof came into my head, you know. And I said, let's do it. And so then I looked up. I grabbed my phone and I started looking stuff up. And then this morning when I was in the office working, I found some more pictures, and the idea grew and grew. And I was like, I'm going with it. I'm going with this. I like this idea. All right, back to overhead and camera. Let's give you a main on the end and an overhead on that. And we'll reach in here with our Proform hollower. Even though it's small, I could straighten out the other one too, but I'm watching the clock start to tick. I could do this with any of these different tools. This poplar, it is really, really soft, and it fills up the cutter space really quick. Because it's green and soft and all the above. That's the downside. And so sometimes, you know, you have to play with what tool is going to do the job the best that day. Now, if this was dry, that wouldn't be happening near so much. But you can see here the fibers of the poplar just load up in the cutter because it is so soft and sinewy, if you will. So we'll take and switch gears, grab the old number 1 hollower, walk right down the wall of this. Because it's a carbide cutter, it can't load up. You know, it is a scraping style cut. It's not cutting the fibers in the same way, but it does the job. Never hesitate to change tools. If a tool's not doing what you want that day, if you have a little bit of depth in your tool cabinet, just change tools. And just because something says it's, you know, like you can take a hollower and work on the outside of a piece, nothing says you have to use it by what its name is. You know, Easy Wood Tools, rougher, so it's called, but I do all kinds of things with it other than roughing. All right. I'm probably just a fuzz low, but I'm all but done in there. Then all I want is uniform right now so that it dries evenly. Get the nub out. Okay. That is what we want. That's nice and uniform down in through there. This will be the perfect rocket. Pop you into the overhead. So again, here's the rocket body. Imagine the, say, 4 fins coming off the body, sticking out. This will be carved away as flames coming off the capsule. The very top will be turned away. There'll be portholes cut into the inside of the capsule, and it will be again painted white. And I think it was number 7, 6, 7, maybe it was 8. Yeah, and so think of those colors, that matte white, and then the flames, and some other reds and yellows, and like I said, the blue on the shoulder I like. The green I might put in there. Depends on if I want to go kind of steampunk on the white with this or not. But that's the idea. So think of those colors on this weird piece. And this will be smaller down here at the base, and it'll have the fins. All right. I know it's weird. It's crazy. But hey, that's me. I'm having a ball. And I think this is going to be fun, cool. I thank you all for joining me today. Any questions? Because I will wrap it up here pretty quick and get on with, I've got stuff I got to do today. But I had a ball. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you'll decide to make your own rocket. All right? Get inspired. Make your rocket. Like I said, I've already got my own. I got one flame there from the wormhole already. You bet, guys. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Fresh Cut. I know it's just a funny little project, but hey, you get an idea in the middle of the night, you got a piece of wood, run out there and get after it. And once the colors get on it and the shape gets finalized, I think it's going to be kind of interesting. And if it's not, hey, it was a great exercise in hollowing out. Double hollowing this, you hollowed here, and then we hollowed inside to make our capsule. And it all goes together, all in the name of fun and learning and doing all the good stuff. Bob, yes, you're quite welcome. It's my pleasure. Very much so. Wally, you bet. Like I said, I will not be here next Thursday. I will be driving up to Massachusetts. Now, I may try and do some live stuff I might try to even just jump in during the shows, during the slow time. It won't be on a Thursday, but might be on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, depending on how things are. This is a new show. I've not worked with these folks before, so I don't know how their program works. I'll meet them for the first time next week. Looking forward to it. And but like I say, I might do something just off the phone. I'm not going to take all my elaborate gear from here for that. But I'll probably jump out there and do something. Definitely be posting pictures and all. And so keep up with everything. Oh, thank you, Michael. I'll have a great trip. And of course, I got to get the snow tires out because it's winter up north. I can leave in South Georgia. But I got snow tires right in the back. Throw them in the van. And Syracuse, New York, they don't have any snow this time of year, do they? Har har. All righty, guys. Well, I think I will go ahead. Again, appreciate everything. I think I will hit number 7 and let it play us out of here. And I will be in touch. I'll keep up with you all. Spiracraft Wood and Resin Turning Group on Facebook. I always try and post there. Some things I put there that I don't put everywhere else. So if you're not a member of it yet and you're here listening, go over to Facebook and join the group there, and we'll keep you up to speed. All right, I think it's 7. Yes, 7 is the one that needs to move over and get rid of that. There we go.